When and where were you born, Jerry, and your parents, relatives, where did they come from?
I was born in Sidney, Nebraska on February 28, 1950. My dad was working at a military installation called the Sioux Army Depot at that time in Sidney, Nebraska. And when I was about 3 or 4 years old, they decided to migrate south back to this area. And I've been in Trinidad ever since.
Did you, are you raising your family? You did raise
Yes,
your
yes, I
family
do
here?
have. I'm married. I have 2 grown children now, and 4 grandchildren, and I raised 2 daughters here in the Trinidad area. And upon graduation, they both attended Trinidad State Junior College and then went off to further their college up in the Denver area, and that's where they're living now. And I have 4 grandchildren, 2 apiece. So it's been good for them to grow up in a small town. I'm glad they don't ever regret growing up in a small town. Denver is just big and a lot of people, so when they get a chance to come home and just get back into the small town atmosphere with my grandchildren, they usually have a good time. So I'm sure the kids that grew up here and decided to leave Trinidad were glad that they grew up here. My kids are glad they did.
Thank you. So where did you get your education, Jerry? And
Here in the local schools, the public school system, graduated from Trinidad High School in '68, went to college on a basketball scholarship, eventually was drafted into the Army in 1970 for 3 years. After my honorable discharge, I went to college in Pueblo, took a lot of mechanics and welding, and was lucky enough to get hired here at the mine, and came back to Trinidad with my wife, and in 1975, and we've been here ever since.
and your wife is a local?
My wife is a local girl, graduated from Trinidad Catholic, and she's been employed at Department of Social Service, 30 years or better, probably.
Can we go back really quickly and have you repeat what she asked where you got your education, and you could say I went to school at.
Oh, okay.
She just answered with the name of the school.
Oh, all right.
Thanks.
Okay. I went to school at the area Trinidad public school system, or Trinidad High School. Graduated from Trinidad High School, and went to Trinidad State Junior College. Took a lot of auto mechanics, and then I was drafted into the Army in 1970 through 1973, and upon my honorable discharge, I relocated back to Pueblo and went to school. It was called Southern Colorado State College then, so I continued with a lot of mechanics and welding. And when it was getting close to graduating, started applying for jobs. My father-in-law at that time was working at the Allen mine, so I applied there and a few other places, and decided to take the first one that I could get, which was the mine, and they called me, and I started in May of 1975.
Okay, so your education served you well.
No, I did, yes.
Your-
Because later on, I did get to use those skills underground as a mechanic and a welder. So it did pay. It paid more, and it did help me out as far as my job duties were concerned underground. Yeah.
Okay, and you had family who worked in the mines as well?
My father-in-law, yeah, he did probably about 30 years plus, and he retired. My brother Dan also, upon his discharge from the Navy, he started a year before I did, if I'm not mistaken, probably 1974. When he was discharged from the Navy, he went into the coal mine, and I followed him a year later.
Thank you. And church-related activities and community-related activities?
Yes, active in the local church here at Holy Trinity Catholic Church. We like to do as much as we can to support the school. It did close. My kids were lucky enough to graduate from Holy Trinity Catholic School, but because of lack of enrollment and funds, I guess, Trinidad Catholic High School closed. There's no more students there. but my wife has ties, strong ties to that school, and we both attend the Holy Trinity Church. So whatever we can do to pitch in and help out, we're more than happy to do that.
And as well, local organizations?
Yeah, I'm a member of well, I like to come down here. This I really do enjoy, coming down here to the museum and meeting people, different people, and telling them about what it was like to be a coal miner. And I'm a member of the American Legion, so we do what we can to educate young people into the flag and what it stands for, and what so many soldiers, men and women, have given up for that flag. So I take a lot of pride in that, and stay active with veterans, whatever I can do to help veterans and coal miners down here. You know, I get a lot of pleasure in that. I really do.
Thank you. How, Jerry, do you think our community has changed over time, our city and our county?
Well, I think since I've been back, because of the economic hardships that's come on Trinidad with the closing of the mine, not as many railroad workers. At that time, when I first started coal mining, 2 years later, my daughter was born. My wife we didn't even entertain thoughts of her going to work. The mine paid well enough for a family to survive. They didn't. There was really no hardships as far as money. The mine paid really well. The best paying job. That's the most fun I ever had, was coal mining. But it paid really, really well. My father-in-law went to work, raised 4 children on coal miners' pay. My mother-in-law really never had to go to work until he was injured in the mine. But other than that, during those times, through the 70s and early 80s, the family was pretty much a close knit. There was nothing that would come up that you couldn't find one of us. If I was coal mining, there was emergency at school or a problem with my children, my wife was home. And I think over the time here in Trinidad, because we just don't have the economic boom anymore, both parents have to work to make ends meet. So we've lost that close-knit family life that used to be, I think, anyway.
Yeah, thank you, Jerry. What about ethnicities here? It's very different. We have very different ethnicities.
Yeah. I never really thought about my ethnicity. I tell people I'm an American of Mexican descent. I never really had to explain that to anybody until these last couple of years. But back then in high school, we were just all friends. It really didn't matter. I never really, but just one time comes to mind in the military that my wife and I were in a restaurant and just couldn't get waited on because they thought we were American Indians. So we left. But other than that, during my growing up, high school, college years, race never really came to play a part of anything like it does now. So, and Trinidad was a good mix of just, we were all coal miners once we went underground. An hour into shift, everybody's kind of full of coal dust. We're just all, coal mine brothers underground, and where you lived or how you spoke or what you said, it really didn't come to play much like it has here recently, the last couple of years. That you have to explain who you are and where you're from, and I'm glad I grew up in that era, because it's kind of tough now for these youngsters to even have a good time with the kid next door if they don't look alike or they don't speak alike, But I never really had much of a problem growing up here in Trinidad. Friendly place to live. I never really had problems with any of that.
Okay, thank you. What about, Jerry, since we have the different ethnicities and the workload that you guys had in the mine, all of you together. Talk about the camaraderie that existed there with the guys, all the guys.
The camaraderie in the mine was pretty amazing. When I first started, it was really a new culture, because I think everybody underground had a nickname, and this guy was that, and this, whatever your nickname was. So for the longest time, I really didn't know my buddy's real name. kind of funny. When a guy comes to mind was Alex Gerardo, I didn't know that was his name for a long time, and because his nickname was Wolf, and I worked with him for a lot of years. He's a great guy to work with, hard working man, great work ethic. So underground was just a different world, I guess, for us all. We were all, working hard, laughing. Started chewing tobacco again, and somebody the boss would say, "Okay, guys, let's go eat lunch," and then the work would stop, and you had a half hour to eat. And I tell people it's like being a little kid. You sit in the dirt and you get a sandwich and you eat, and nobody, I never heard harsh words spoken about in the mine about anybody. There was we were just all looking out for each other, because we knew if we didn't and did our best to make the place safe and work safe, somebody was going to get hurt. You just didn't want to be responsible for an accident. So, but the guys underground, boys, the best friends I think I've had ever is those guys underground. I miss those guys. I was just on a great crew of about 8 guys, and I really miss those guys. Saw them every day for 5 or 6 days a week, 8 hours a day. It was just a great time to be a coal miner for me. It really was.
You talked about work ethic. It's something that I think is lacking in our society. But
I've since the mines shut down and I had to look for work. The work ethic just isn't there. I work for Department of Corrections, and it was just amazing to me how many people in their 20s, 30s just couldn't work 5 days a week. And it was policy there. If you called in 4 hours prior to your shift, you could just tell them, I'm not coming to work. HIPAA laws prevent the employer from saying what's wrong, are you sick, whatever. And then they don't do that anymore. So you could call in 4 hours before shift and just say, I'm not coming in. And during the football season, that was prevalent week in and week out. If they wanted to watch the Broncos or their favorite team, they just didn't go to work, which made it hard on everybody else working there, because I couldn't go home until I was relieved. So if my relief just decided not to come to work because he didn't want to come to work, then I was there for at least 4 hours or maybe 8. So instead of an 8-hour shift, it turned into 12 or 16. So the work ethic, to me, I got out of the workforce 3 years ago. The new hires now, they want the day off once a week. If something comes up, they're just not there, and you see it in some of the local stores. Maybe Walmart and Safeway. I think that's why they put all those self-checkers in there, those lanes where you check yourself out. They just can't get anybody to come to work. They hire them, and they want the 4th of July off. They want a holiday off. I need Saturday off. I can't work Sunday, and it's put a burden on people that go to these Walmarts, even King Super up in Denver. There's just not enough help, and I don't think it's because they're not hiring. It's because this guy or girl is supposed to come to work, and all of a sudden she just decides to quit without giving notice, or she just doesn't want to work that day. So the work ethic isn't as strong, and we learned that from our parents. I don't know how many coal miners, we just went to work 5 days a week, 6 days a week. We really didn't need a day off to do much. We took care of those kind of businesses after work, or when you were on vacation, swing shift didn't go in till 2 in the afternoon. So if you had business to take care of, you did it during the morning. They would get up and go to the bank, a dentist, a doctor. You schedule those appointments opposite your shift. So, we didn't miss much work in those days that I recall.
Looking back, Jerry, is there any exposure to camp life, actual camp life in your family back when your father and relatives were?
To go camping, you mean?
No, more directed to the, if you lived in the company housing? like there were some
My mother's family lived in Cokedale, and she told stories about the coal mines at that time, how hard it was, how the coal miners would come home and have to take, a quick bath outside so they didn't bring all that dirty clothes inside. There was just very few cars. She told stories about that company store. Whatever you needed, you went to that store. If you needed something from town, I don't know how far it was, but you had to catch the local train coming down and come into Trinidad and then back. But it was a pretty simple life, I think, back then. But she had fond memories of living in Cokedale. I don't know how many kids were there, friends. Everything was home cooking, and she did like it. But on the other hand, the kids in town had more freedom. There was more things to do. So the people in the coal camps were pretty much saddled, because if they were paid, and they were paid, if they were paid in script money, then they just couldn't come to town because they didn't have real money. And that was kind of my mother's generation. And then it slowly changed where they were getting paid money, but there was they lived well, but there was just not enough for all the kids those days with big families to come to town and see a movie once a week, or buy frivolous things that they wanted to buy. So yeah, my mother said she had fond memories of that, but it was hard times.
Was. Women then, did they tend their gardens and at that time and wash
Yeah, everything
clothing?
as my mother's family relocated back to Trinidad. My grandmother had a garden, till she passed, and everybody, I think, we had a garden when we lived on Stonewall Street, and fresh vegetables. We ate really good. It was just good food. Most people that I knew, their parents and grandparents tended a garden, and some of them had really nice big gardens that grow corn. My grandmother's yards wasn't that big, but we always had lettuce, tomatoes, cucumbers. She grew her own chili, a little bit of corn, and it was just fresh food. And the memories of my grandmother cooking on a coal stove, boy, that food was just the best. It was really, really the best food.
Hit the spot.
It hit the spot. It did. Yeah, I'd rather eat there than. My mom we didn't have a coal stove, but she had a gas stove. But the food on a coal stove, fire and coal inside that stove, it was just good. It was just good food.
What about outside activities, recreational activities, in terms of growing up, with other family members or other children in the community?
During the times that I was coal mining, there were a lot of people my age, 22, 23, 24. There was a lot of them here. So what happened once the Trinidad Community Center was built, we started. Those of us that played basketball in high school and college, well, there was enough guys in town where I'll bet there was at least 15 basketball teams that we played on a nightly basis. Monday and Wednesday was competitive. Tuesday, Thursday was recreation. There was even an over 40 league that played on Sunday. So there was a lot of basketball, a lot of sports to be played back in the mid-'70s through the '80s. And then as the mines closed, people just relocated. They didn't really have much choice. They relocated, and all those city basketball teams faded. They don't play softball anymore. I don't think they play women's volleyball anymore. Those things faded as the coal mine and the railroad started phasing down their people, and the people in their 20s and 30s, 40s, they really had to leave town to make ends meet. They had to go. But during the time that I was coal mining, there was enough basketball, softball, volleyball to go around. Well, there was a lot of people involved in those sports.
And in terms of union activity, our union here has been the United Mine Workers of America.
Right.
There are benefits to that.
The benefits are great. I do get a pension. My pension money was prorated on how many hours of work you did per year. And because I didn't have a lot of seniority and I was laid off quite a bit, I ended up with 14 years. So I don't have a health card, but the men and I don't know if women worked long enough to get a pension here, but the men that put in their 20 years, I hope that pension is, the president and Congress takes action on and guarantees those pensions for these people that put half a lifetime underground, especially for the widows. If that pension was to disappear, I just don't know anybody who can live on Social Security these days. So without the pension, it would really be tough. And we had good medical when I was working. The pay was good, and if I was sick or my wife or my children were sick, we go to the doctor, and I don't ever remember paying much, if anything, out of pocket. The benefits, the health benefits were great, really, really great, which is kind of unusual for most people these days. The healthcare these days is
Of course, there's the safety issue.
and the safety issue underground, and the company men, I don't think they wanted us to be unsafe. We had our safety committee underground, and if we went into a section of the mine where we thought it was unsafe, we'd bring attention to the boss and say, boss, we need to fix this. And they took the stance of the company, well, we have to go to work. And then we would tell them, well, we're not refusing to work, but we need to make it safe. So they would bring the union safety, and then, if I'm not mistaken, during my time, Flory Massarotti would come in there for the company. They would figure out what was wrong and how to make it safe. We would do that, and then we would start production in the coal. But nobody worked unsafe. We did have good classes about being safe underground. We would see films on explosions, how just carelessness for a second could get you killed. So we did have good training underground, but because of our strong union, I don't think I was ever asked to do something that was unsafe. If we thought it was, you bring it to the attention of your shift foreman, and then the union safety committee would come in there and they would hash it out and we'd get it fixed. But because of the union and our safety committee, we weren't asked or forced to do something that was just unsafe.
Thank you, Jerry, and would like to know if there's anything you would like to say or add to this interview that could serve some purpose in the future to those who would view this interview or want to learn more about the history here of coal mining and the coal miners here.
I really thought that I would retire maybe into my 60s as a coal miner, and kind of like I said before, coal mining was arguably the best job I ever had. The pay was good, the benefits were good. I was on a heck of a crew. They were my buddies. I saw them. We were invited to important family functions, weddings, baptisms. high school graduations, just about anything that was important to the crew. Well, the crew was invited to attend, and I truly miss that, and that might be lacking now. But I truly wish the coal mines, and I understand about the environment and things like that, but I truly hope that our government takes action and protects those pensions. And I hope, youngsters, I hope something that you find work where you're just, working 5 days of work is just not an issue, and you have a good salary. Look at your pensions, because one of these days you're going to be retirement age, and plan for that. And we all did as coal miners. We knew that there was going to be a pension when we retired, so I didn't really think much about that until I was laid off, and I said, well, we're going to have to do something else and prepare for the future. So I hope these youngsters think about that when you get a good paying job. Stay 20 years, get some benefits. Don't count on something being there if you're 21. It may not be there when you're 65. Who knows where the country's going? So, and join a union. I'm a union member for life. I don't regret any of that.
Thank you, Jerry. Thank you for your service to our country.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for your support.
All right, thanks.
We were all friends in high school. We played football, basketball, all that. I don't remember any of that or discussing race or my heritage until here lately. It's kind of sad, kind of sad.
It is sad, but our environment is changing.
And everything is changing now,
Yeah,
and
we have different people here today, and I sense that as well. A lot of the people I don't know anymore, and I always get the feeling that I'm not the right color. I'm not the right person, and so I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, and it's just here the last
it didn't used to be.
couple of years. No, we never had to explain any of that before.
No, it didn't used to be.
And and we were all coal miners in the mine. There was no.
No. Like these folks, they all had to work together, different races, they had to bring the community together for the cause that they believed in, and so they knew they had to get along, they knew they had to be as one, and so they did, and that's why, we enjoy the benefit of their gains today, is because they
Well,
didn't give up.
these Ludlow miners, that era, boy, we stand on their shoulders as far as safety and pay and benefits.
Yes,
It would have been tough back then
yeah.
to be a coal miner. It would have really been hard. I don't know how they do it back east with a coal seam that's 3 or 4 feet high. That's the height of the mine, because they don't take any rock or dirt. They don't make it higher. So it's an expensive process to separate coal from rock and dirt. So if you're the customer, you want coal. You don't want rock and dirt that doesn't burn. It's just a bunch of ash. And these guys back east, a 4-foot coal seam. I think there's a picture here where they show something similar to that. I don't think it's downstairs. It'd be tough to be underground.
I think it's in one of the videos.
I think it sits over here. I'll show these guys. It'd be tough to spend 8 hours on your side or on your back or laying down. I just don't know how they could do that.
I don't even know that it was high enough for you.
No.
Was it?
Most of the places I worked at, I'm 6'7". My brother was 6'5". There's a couple tall guys, but as a rule, the mine was about 6 foot high.
Oh, okay. So, was it
So I was ducking quite a bit, but you adapt underground. It worked out pretty good. So those coal miners back east, boy, I feel for those guys to go in a mine that's 4 foot high. My goodness, I don't know. No, I'd have to get another job. I don't think I could do it. Not at 6'7" to do that. No, I don't think I could do it. Don't
Our
think so.
work ethic, of course, we always talk about that because we were taught at a young age that if you work, there's no question about it.
Yeah,
You start in
well,
the home, you help your mother, you get things done there, and then from there you move out and you do what you gotta do to
yeah, it
survive.
just, and when you're young, you don't, coming from maybe a coal mining family or your dad was doing something different, you just didn't have a lot of pocket money.
No.
So the first time you had to get a gas station job, you went every day and you worked as long as you could, because now you got a few bucks for the weekend, And I worked as long as I could, for as long as I could. Because, I knew one day that it would end, and then you're gonna have to be, and Social Security was never meant to be your sole income. It was,
Nor any type of
Yeah,
handout,
yeah,
you know,
no.
I don't believe, I mean, you work for what you get,
yeah,
and we need
Yeah.
to work.
yeah, that was, and I like to think my wife and I did a good job passing that on to our kids, and they're doing a good job with my grandchildren. They know that, if you want something, you gotta get up and go to work. And nothing's free nothing's free. Wasn't free back when we were kids, it's not free now. So,
True.
all righty, guys.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Jerry.
Yeah,
Do you want some coffee or anything, Jerry? I'll make some.
No, don't make no comment.
okay, go ahead.
Okay, my name is Jerry Renner. I'm a retired coal miner and lifelong resident of Trinidad, Colorado.